Thank you for attending today's RDA webinar on how to get active in RDA. I am Katrin Beck from the RDA Europe Training Program team. First of all, now let me present you our speakers. Today we will have 3 speakers in total. Rainer Stotzka is working at the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, KIT, in Germany. He has been active in RDA since the very first meeting in Arlington. He is the co-chair of the Working Group on Practical Policies and he is member of the TAB. Peter Wittenburg has been the head of the technical group of the Max Planck Institute for Psycholinguistics and of the Language Archive for many years. Since 1990, he has been working with digital infrastructures. First in the Dobes Archive for Endangered Languages, then in the projects Clarin and EUDAT, and then he was one of the founding fathers of RDA. Peter is chair of the Data Fabric Interest Group and of the Data Foundation and Terminology Working Group. He is a TAB member and he is the RDA Europe Executive Director. Juan Bicarregui is head of Data Division at SCFC, the Science and Technology Facilities Council. At SCFC he is responsible for the management of data from UK large facilities. He is co-chair of the RDA Organisational Advisory Board. He is the UK representative on the G7 GSO Data Working Group and he is chair of the UK Research Funders Group on Data Policy. Rainer, would you like to start our webinar?
So, thank you very much, Katrin. I just assumed that I'm good hearable to everybody. Welcome to our webinar. I will first give an introduction into RDA for data practitioners, and I will especially tell you what RDA is, how you can interact with RDA, and where you get information, and how you can get active in RDA. So, I need... here I have my mouse. Everything works fine. Thanks a lot. So, first of all, the Research Data Alliance was founded in 2013 officially, and it is an organization, an international organization with a vision that researchers can openly share data across technologies, disciplines and countries. And RDA tries to build the social and technical bridges to enable this. We have a couple of principles. Oh, I am sorry, I forgot to push the last button. Now I'm visible. Thanks a lot. The guiding principles of RDA are, on one hand side, openness. All the discussions we are performing, all the results, they are open to the public. The results are produced by consensus of the working people there and the active contributors. They will find this consensus, and these consensuses will go into recommendations. Balance is very important to share data across technologies, disciplines and borders, and let's say countries. Harmonization. Everything is community driven, so that RDA concentrates mostly on things, on topics which are useful and non-profit. Currently, we have, I think, nearly 4,000 members, from which we see currently approximately 700 active members. And these 700 active members, those are active in the working groups, in the interest groups, and they appear in the plenaries. I will come to this a bit later. So, now, what you see here is just a screenshot of the website of rdalliance.org. I tried to... here's my mouse. This is the address of our website, and here you can get all the information about RDA. So if you want to get more information after this webinar. You see here a couple of topics: the RDA news, RDA events, and requests for comments. RDA is an active organization, which means that all the members are invited to comment on the current ongoing work, on the results, and this discussion makes RDA so vivid. So now, First of all, if you want to get into RDA and want to get a member, you have to log into this website. This will enable you you will see all the information anyways, but the login you need for active contributions, for example, for commenting on these on special things. If you don't have a login, if you're not yet a member, just register here, and then you are an RDA member. So, if you go down on this web page, you will find here additional information about membership. If you are new to RDA, in this case, here you get some information for data professionals, researchers, or for representatives of the university, association, businesses, and so on. What is important in here is this part. These are here the RDA groups, and here you see information about the working groups and the interest groups. Now let's go into this page here with the working groups, and if you just click in here, we see, no, this was too far. Katrin, the slide is missing. Okay. No, here we would see a list of working groups. Currently we have 27 active RDA working groups, and these are experts which are engaged in the creating deliverables, concrete deliverables which will enable data sharing, exchange, or interoperability. For us it is very important that these working groups are working really on a concrete problem. So, for example, how the policies for sharing data have to look like, and they should create results in a very short time frame. And this one is limited up to 18 months plus adoption. So, these concrete outputs are for us really important. These outputs could be technical specification, conceptual models or frameworks, policies, or other documents. To measure somehow the value of the output. Okay, producing a recommendation or producing an output, this is somebody everybody can do, but the value is measured by the adoption. If somebody uses these outputs, if communities are starting to use these outputs, then these are valuable. And this is the most important thing in RDA, that all the outputs we are producing, they go into an adoption phase in which communities or producers are trying to adopt or to use these outputs. All working groups and all deliverables, so these recommendations and these outputs, undergo a community review, and this is a hard community review with a very active discussion. So here you see a part of the list of the working groups. So, for example, from Agri-Semantics, this one is alphabetically ordered. Let's just look into one of these working groups, into the data citation working group, to have an example in here. And if we go on their page, we will see the following. If you click on this page, we will see additional information. First of all, we see here this information about what the group is about. This is a short abstract. Then here, at this point, we have the case statement. The case statement describes the goals of the groups and how they want to reach their goals, and how the outputs will look like, whether it's a report, whether these are policies or other descriptions or whatever it is. If the group has already produced some outputs, we will see here at this point the outputs and recommendations. And what is also important in here, these outputs and recommendations, as well as the case statements, they don't go uncommented. Here we will have a discussion about the value, about the outputs, and so on. And these discussions are very important for us. If we go further down on this page, we will see another thing. For example, if you want to get an active member of this group, or you just want to follow the discussions in this group, you should subscribe to the group. The subscription to the group, it's a bit hidden. It's at this at this part here. Here, if you are registered and you just click to the subscription link here, you will be subscribed to the group, and then your name also appears here to the list of members who are active in this group and contribute to the discussions, or some of them, they are just listening to the discussion to learn about what the group is doing. On the other hand, there are not only the working groups in RDA, we have also the interest groups. Interest groups, currently we have 44 different interest groups, and these are also groups which are which have a common interest in enhancing data sharing, exchange and interoperability, but interest groups are more for coordination and communication. They don't have a short time span to create direct or really direct outputs. They have a longer time frame. They can run a couple of years, and really their outputs could be a platform which leads for information sharing, communication and coordination across other working groups and interest groups. For example, how to use outputs of other groups, so and so on. This is now a very big landscape. You have seen we have 27 working groups, 44 interest groups, approximately 70 groups in here, and of course we need to somehow to order these groups to make it more comprehensible. For that, we developed here a kind of a group clustering with two axes. On one axis, where's my mouse? Ah, here it is. On one axis, here we see who benefits from the group outputs. This can be either data providers or data consumers. And on the other hand, what kind of solutions do we have? These can be technical solutions and social solutions. And now I will give you a couple of some examples about these quadrants here, which are written in here, and examples for these groups. I won't go into detail of the group's outputs. They will be written here in the slides, and these slides will be available for you after the webinar. So, first of all, we have this area here. Here we have the social and organizational solutions aimed at data providers. These are outputs in the direction of governance, certification, cost recovery, legal issues, and others. Examples for that are, for example, here's a data citation group. The data citation group gives you an output how you can cite data which is dynamic, which is subjected to change. How can you cite with a DOI or a persistent identifier this data? How it is recommended to use mechanisms for such a dynamic data citation. Other outputs are from the repository audit and certification, so that if we want an audit of certifications, and we have currently different kinds of ways how to do this, how this can be harmonized. Services for data publishing and the data foundation and terminology. So the next quadrant are here the technical solution aimed at data providers. These are repositories, data fabric, analytics. You see it's getting technical, identity management, and so on. Examples for these groups which are producing outputs in this direction are the data type registry, so couple of MIME types for data, workflows, how to publish data, PID information types, how to get additional metadata, and practical policies. But there are also others. I show here only a subgroup of these working groups which are contributing to this quadrant. The next one, where's my mouse? Here. Are the technical solutions aimed at the data consumer. These outputs go into the direction of interoperability, harmonization, integration, metadata, and also here are also community-specific groups in this area. So, for example, we have one group which is the WIT data interoperability. They care about how do I describe for the problem of nutrition, especially here wheat, how to exchange production data and so on, and how to describe it in a unique format in kind of metadata. And the last quadrant are the social and international solutions aimed at the data consumer. These are, for example, education, engagement, and so on, ethics. And two examples of them are, so for example, building summer schools in data science and cloud computing, or the metadata standards directory. But you can see here I have only one sentence for each of the outputs, which describes very briefly the outputs, but of course there's much more, and you can find it on the websites which I have indicated before. Well, this slide I have stolen from Fran. It is just to give you an overview what RDA is doing. We want to accelerate data sharing and interoperability across these borders of cultures, communities, and so on. And we are not only working on the technical parts of the data engine, for example, common types, data standards, and metadata, and how the systems can interoperable. Very important is, if you produce such kinds of outputs and recommendations, that you also have the rules on the road. These are, for example, the policies and practices, how to use the technologies, and of course we have to disseminate this. So these outputs and recommendations, if they are useful, they also have to go into training, education, and so on. So this is what a different view of RDA, so that we don't just go into the technical solutions, but also into social and in the ethics ones and organizational things. So I just talked about the working groups and the interest groups, what are their topics and so on, but we have also more. We meet 2 times a year at a plenary. At a plenary of RDA. The last plenary, for example, was in Tokyo, in Japan, beginning of March this year. And what happened in here, we had, for example, not only plenaries, it's not like a normal conference where you go and where you just listen. These are plenaries, are working conferences. Here the group meet on one hand, the working groups meet, the interest group meet, they have their breakout sessions, and there they discuss and work on outputs. We had, so for example, more than 30 working group and interest group meetings, a couple of joint meetings, and of course 10 groups which met, and with a goal to produce or to found a new working or interest groups. Also, what in these plenaries is introduced are the recommendations, the new recommendations of outputs. And here you see that there's a lot going on in RDA. So, for example, this time in this for the last half a year, 6 working groups produced outputs. These are the repository audit and certification, publishing data, bibliometrics, services and workflows, read data interoperability in the summer schools. All those produced outputs and are now going into the adoption in which the outputs are used by communities and to prove their value. The next plenary, which is also important, so we have the plenary twice a year, will be in September, mid in September, and it will take place in Denver. And you're invited to join us, and it will not just a plenary of the RDA. This will be the International Data Week in Denver, and here we will have 3 conferences which come together, which are the SciDataCon, the International Data Forum, and the RDA Plenary Meeting. Well, so now you have seen a couple of things, what you could do, how you can contribute, how you can participate in RDA. So, just to summarize, the first and the simplest thing for you, if you are interested in research, data, bridging, interoperability, just become a member. Sign up at the website, get all the information, and be part of the global interaction. On the other hand, you can come and you're invited to join us in the meetings and in the plenaries. Here you meet the experts, you can start discussing. If you participate in the groups, you can bring in also your expertise about barriers, and maybe you have also good ideas for solutions. If you see that something is missing, that there are topics missing in RDA, and I'm sure that there are lots of topics which we are currently not working on, just try to found a group. Find some others, found a group, become a chair of this group, and so take your initiative to provide new solutions. On the other hand, we have the training events, we have the uptake projects. If you're just interested in in using the outputs and recommendation. If you are active in RDA, we have in RDA Europe, for example, a travel support. If you want to participate and to contribute in plenaries and meetings, you can ask RDA Europe. Especially Katrin here is the contact person. You can participate in the European meetings and of course in the national meetings. There are currently national meetings I'm aware of which are going on, which are in France, in Germany, in Finland, and as far as I know also in the UK. And maybe also many more. And of course, you're also invited to organize meetings. And these co-organization of meetings can be also supported by RDA. And in this case, it will be RDA Europe and so on. And Peter will will give you more information about this. Well, this was my part. Thank you very much.
For the most important part of getting involved and engaged in RDA activities, we should briefly mention that RDA Europe, and Rainer already introduced that, has some programs. So RDA Europe is not interfering with the RDA working groups and so forth, right? So this is the machinery, the working groups, interest groups, and so forth, as Rainer explained, to come to remove barriers, to come to agreements. RDA Europe is a European project that has to support RDA. So we get some funds from the European Commission, as the Americans do, and so forth. And we support the work in RDA Europe. And I would briefly like to inform you about the ways you could make use of the funds which we and possibilities which we have as a project in Europe. So, as Rainer already indicated, we can give advice and support. I will show refer to the websites in a moment. We have, as Rainer indicated, early career programs, so travel support to plenaries, can support the chairs. Of course, we can do a lot of co-organization, community-based meetings or regional, national meetings, whatever is appropriate. We just wait on initiatives from the communities or from people in the countries to start something. So for us, it's very obvious that, for example, in some countries, let me say big countries like Poland or Czech Republic also, that we should have much more engagement, should have national meetings. So if there are interested people to do so, let us know and we'll certainly be able to do something. So as Rainer already mentioned, we have a training and we do a lot of training and webinars, as you can see now. And you see here, I should use the mouse. Where's the mouse? I can't see the mouse. There it is. You can see here the website where you can find the program. We have now a program for the whole year. But we'll keep the freedom to change things as long as the details of the exact time and date are not set and the trainers are not indicated. And as you can see, we have different topics. So one of the topics coming soon is an interaction between John Wood, our chair, our member in council, one of our member in council, and the new commissioner Moedas. That should be very interesting for political issues, but we have also issues on many concrete things. So we will have a workshop on advanced usage of PIDs. So that's still a hot topic in many communities. So please have a look at the website. And let me say here as well, if you have ideas or other wishes or so needs, please let us know. We are able to react in a kind of flexible way. We should be agile in RDA. The other thing is I should mention here is what we call the Atlas of Knowledge. We still call it a pilot. It was just launched. And what we would like to do is to have a rich source of information about data. And of course, it's not just that RDA people should contribute. There are so many other people having great knowledge about how to deal with data. And, we hope that many people will participate in creating a rich source with questions and answers. So please have a look. You see the website here. Please have a look and contribute with questions or comments if you don't agree with something and so forth. So we do not expect all having the same opinions, but RDA should and has to remain a platform where we have lots of discussions, but of course also some convergence. So please have a look and participate. And as Rainer mentioned, we have adoption projects. Adoption is really one of the core points, since the adoption means that we test the outputs of the RDA working groups, and put them into practice. And that's the only way to test whether they are useful or not useful. So you see, we have a couple of adoption projects which RDA funds in Europe. And I can tell you, as you can see here, the second call should come out in April, so we have to hurry up. Please look at the website. I just came back from a meeting with European scientists, which we had in Paris the last 2 days, and we immediately indicated from the questions, contributions from the scientists, that there were a couple of cases which would be extremely well suited for small projects to test RDA outputs. Right? Test, for example, what the dynamic data citation could help in your daily work. So have a look, and the call will come out very soon, hope in April, and then we'll just wait on proposals. I think that was all. Juan, I think it's your turn. Maybe we'll just should continue and have questions at the end.
And interest groups. And if I just jump ahead a few slides to start with, and then I'll come back to what I was going to say. I think it may be best to start with this slide to say, as you see, the two circles in orange are really where the main work of RDA goes on, where individuals get together into working groups and interest groups to do the technical work as described by Rainer and Peter. And then the yellow boxes here are the structure that we have put in place to support that work. There is a technical advisory board, which is elected by the individual members, which really gives guidance and oversees the technical work in order to try and keep things joined up. Peter and Rainer are both members of that. There is a secretariat which runs the administrative side of the organisation and keeps everything running well. And there is an organisational advisory board where organisations can join, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. There's also the RDA Council, which is the group of sort of high-level senior people who are charged with keeping the strategy of RDA and keeping it working. And I'll talk briefly about the Foundation Funders Forum later. But what I wanted to talk about today was about organisational membership and what that means and how organisations can have a voice in RDA. So, firstly, let's talk about why RDA needs organisational members. As I said, the majority of the work is done by individuals in working groups. But indeed, the idea behind having organisational members is to make sure that organisations, as organisations, can play a role in guiding the programmes and the activities of RDA. Why is this important? Well, it is, in the end of the day, organisations that make decisions about whether to adopt a particular technology. Obviously, individuals have a voice in that decision, but an organisation makes that decision as a whole through some structure normally. And so organisations should have a voice in that, particularly with regards to the adoption of the outputs of RDA. So these organisations that become organisational members is a way that we can make that voice heard within the structures of RDA. They will provide organisational and operational advice. They will interact with the technical advisory board, particularly on how adoptable a particular piece of work or standard or output is, and also be a way to encourage and facilitate the adoption of those products by adopting them within the organisations themselves, speaking about that, encouraging others to adopt the products. Why would organisations want to join? Well, it gives a strong voice in RDA. The Organisational Advisory Board has a direct link into Council, so it can help steer the overall direction of RDA. The Organisational Assembly, which is the body that brings together all the organisational members, is a place where organisations can discuss the outputs so that they can decide perhaps to adopt something together. For example, we have quite a few libraries that are organisational members. They will discuss among themselves whether they think something's appropriate, and it is easier perhaps to adopt something if you know that other similar organisations are just about to adopt the same thing. The Organisational Assembly elects an Organisational Advisory Board, and I will talk about that a bit later. We have meetings at each plenaries, and we have video conferences in between. This Organisational Assembly gives a platform where organisations can have a voice and be seen to be an advocate for data interoperability, and be seen to be part of the RDA, and be recognised on the RDA website as taking a leading role here. This is the slide that shows the current organisational members and affiliate members. I haven't actually mentioned affiliate members. This is for other international or other global organisations that are doing related things to RDA. Affiliate membership is a way that we can discuss as a body the respective roles of RDA and, for example, CoData and ORCIDs and DataSite. You can see them listed there. We currently have, I think it's about 45 organisational and affiliate members together. You can see their logos there. They are from all across the world and in all different types of organisations. So how is this mirrored in the formal structures of RDA? Well, the Organisational Assembly, it comprises representatives from all the organisational members and affiliate organisations, provides a forum where these organisational members can discuss and respond to the work that's going on in RDA, form views and collaborate and disseminate about that. We hold meetings at each plenary so that we can set the directions and hear about progress, determine how recommendations are to be implemented, and the Organisational Assembly elects an Organisational Advisory Board from amongst itself, which is a board of 12 people. And the Organisational Advisory Board advises the membership and the Council in directions, opportunities and processes. So it is the way of